Hello once again, and welcome to Ambiente's studio kitchen on the outskirts of York. It's not really the heart of York. You join us today for the third of our cooking demonstrations. It's Monday the 15th. I think we established earlier. All days are the same these days, but technically we are Monday the 16th. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon now. We've done a couple of demos already, which you will find on our platforms. One for bagel and eggs, and the other one for a rich tomato pasta sauce that we did with meatballs. What we're going to do now is a tagine. This particular tagine, again, it's one that I've been cooking at home for many years, and it's vegetarian. Now, just because it's vegetarian doesn't mean it wouldn't be equally good with meat in it. I'm a carnivore. I would love to have this with lamb or chicken. In which case, all I would do is sear off. I've got a pan of oil here, which I'm going to put our first ingredients into shortly. But I will probably substitute that first ingredient for the lamb or the chicken and just give it a nice sear and cook it off first. So where you see this, which is sweet potato, think lamb or chicken. So anyway, just to remind you, the reason we're doing this, it's not to sell anything. These are not dishes we do in any of our restaurants, and I must emphasize I am not a chef. Although we employ many chefs, these are all meant to be dishes that you can knock up at home without too much forethought, to give yourself a bit of variety in these days when you can't get out of the house. It's not easy to go for takeaways, and your dining choices are a little bit limited. You know, I think we've all got to the point where our staple recipes that we cook regularly at home have become a little bit monotonous and want something a little bit different. So if you can take anything away from any of these ones we're rustling up here, then that's the whole idea. Okay, so enough waffle. This is where you start watching the top of my head for the next 20 minutes or so. Well, maybe not 20 minutes. Let's not exaggerate. So I've got a pan on here, but it's got a little bit of veg oil in. It's been warming up gently, so I'm just going to crank it up a little bit. And first of all, there's nothing else in there, just oil. Butternut squash. No, it's not butternut squash. It's sweet potato. So I chopped a couple of medium-sized sweet potatoes and chopped to probably half-inchish cubes. Again, as we said previously, we're not working to recipes here. It's all been done sort of on the fly, because they're all dishes that I cook sort of regularly without measuring anything. It's not the way we do it in the restaurants, but it's the way I do it at home. But if you do want a recipe, if you just text us, or no, not text, that's probably not good, is it? If you message us or Facebook us or email us, we'll pick it up at some point and we'll send you out the recipe. Or we may even publish them if there's enough demand. So anyway, we've got our sun-dried. What's this stuff? I've been doing this too long now.
It's not butter.
Sweet potato. Right, we've got our sweet potato in the pan, and I'm just going to turn it up a little bit because it wants to get a nice sort of sizzle on it, because we want to sear it like you would some bits of lamb or chicken. Now, while that's happening, the next stage is to take a couple of my trusty friends, the OXO cube. Now, we don't use anything like this in the restaurant. We use, actually, on our dine at home paella kits, we do use something similar to this, but that's another story. But generally in the restaurants we make our own stocks, but you don't want to do that at home. It's not practical. It's too time consuming. You'd never do it. OXO cubes are great. I'm going to put 2 in here because that's my magic number with OXO cubes. I'm usually making dishes for 2 people because there are 2 people in my household, me and the redhead. She's a vegetarian, which is why all my food I cook is vegetarian-ish, but we do have a healthy appetite, so most of the dishes that we're doing here, although they're designed for 2, they're kind of 2 fairly generous helpings. Okay, so 2 OXO cubes in a jug. There's also some ras el hanout, which you can't make a tagine without ras el hanout. Looks like, I don't know, garam masala, or it's a spice mix like garam masala, but it's North African influence, so it's got rose petals and other stuff in there. I'm sure it's got cumin in. Anything with cumin in is good by me. So anyway, that goes in the jug as well. And I just hold the kettle. So you just want to put a non-specific amount of water in there. Give it a stir. Again, if you really want to, we can measure that out. But 400 ml, but I don't know if that's right. We'll see. So that's going to be our stock, or the beginning of our stock. Right. So here we go. You can see that's sizzling away nicely. It's just browning in places, just as it would if it was chicken. Just keep it on there a little bit longer. Now, the other ingredients we have here today in our tagine are chickpeas. Again, as I said with tomatoes earlier, use a decent chickpea. Chickpeas take on flavour really well, and the nice big juicy ones do that better than the smaller ones. So I'm just going to strain those off. If you don't shake them beforehand, they all stick to the bottom as well. You don't want that. So if you want to make vegan meringues or vegan cocktails, that stuff at the bottom there, the aquafaba, works like the egg yolk, but we're not going to do that today. Sorry, not egg yolk, egg white. Well, Sophie, you need to correct me when I say stupid things like that. Just get rid of that last bit. Right, just give this another stir. And as you can see, it's browning quite nicely now. So the next bit is we pop this stock Razel Hanu Oxo Cube mix into here. Now it's a hot pan, so it's going to sizzle, so you'll not hear me for a minute or two until it calms down, but here we go. That's a satisfying noise. Anyway, it'll calm down and simmer, and then I'll introduce you to some of the other ingredients we're going to put in here. Now, ultimately, I've got an oven under here, and we're warming a tagine, which is one of those pots with a sort of pointy lids, made of earthenware. Now, that's what I cook mine. You don't have to. I've cooked them in pans before, but you do need a lid for the pan that you're cooking it. And you just kind of slow cook it. But we'll go over that when we get to the bit where I tip it into the tagine. Okay, so that's bubbling nicely. Now you want some whole bleached almonds. Pop a few of those in. I've also got some flaked almonds here as well, but I'll put those on a little bit later. And you also want chickpeas. So a tin of chickpeas, they're going. Let's get rid of that. And then, in addition to that, you want some apricots and some prunes. When was the last time you used prunes, unless you're making cakes? So these are just simply cut in half. You want to get the really nice juicy ones if you can, because they kind of take in the flavour. You get apricots sometimes that are really hard. Don't bother with those. You want real nice soft ones, and as you can see, the prunes are really soft as well. So so those all go in. There's probably about 6 or 8 of each. I didn't count them, but I guess that's how many there were. And as I say, just roughly chopped in half, and they'll kind of expand as we cook it, and they take in all the juice and become really quite tasty. Okay. The other ingredient we put in, I think this is the last one, is soft brown sugar. So this gives it the sort of sweetness that you associate with tagine. You don't want too much. Maybe that. Again, it's an indiscriminate amount, which, given enough interest, can be quantified. Okay, and then we just let this down for a little bit. So one of the other, I quite like Moroccan food, and one of the other dishes that, if you like the idea of what we're doing here, we might introduce to you, is something that I've been met with ridicule by whenever I've mentioned it to people, and it's a mashed potato and hard-boiled egg stotty. But I can assure you, until you've tasted it, well, you wouldn't mock after you tasted it, to put it that way. I experienced it in that big square in Marrakesh. I can't remember what it's called, where they bring out all the stalls on a night. And they were just there with these really big bread cakes. Make a hole in with a hand, put some mashed potato in, put a hard-boiled egg in, squish it down with some sea salt and some cumin again, a bit more mashed potato, and then hand it over to you. And it probably cost 50p, and they were delicious. So play your cards right, and you enjoy what we're doing here, and you make all the right noises. We might show you how to make them. Although I've just given the recipe away, that's all there is to it, really. Okay, it's got to the point now. That's all nicely kind of mixed. It's simmering. What we want to do is get this sauce. It kind of congeals after a while. Not congeals, but it kind of gets rich and thickens. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. So I'm going to get the tagine out. So this has been warming in the oven. Whilst we've been doing this, so it's very hot. As you can see, it's a bit grotty on the top, and that's because although they're earthenware, bits of them aren't actually glazed, so you're not supposed to wash them. I think that's the story anyway. Okay, so so that's done cooking on the hob, unless of course you've not got a tagine, in which case just carry on, put a lid on it and just leave it on a really low simmer for probably on least quarter of an hour, something like that. But I'll just turn this off first. Like that. And I'm going to tip it in here. And again, you'll probably hear it sizzle. Oh, look at that. So just the right amount. I think I'd done this before, wouldn't you? Okay, now what I like to do is just sprinkle a little bit more dark brown sugar on the top, because this doesn't get stirred now, it just stays as it is. Flaked almonds, and if I've got some to hand, which I forgot, a little bit of cumin, because cumin's great. There we go. And that, whoa, oh, gosh. That goes on top like that, and then it goes back in the oven. So, as we say, if we haven't got one of those, I'd consider investing it if you like the dish. If you cook the dish and like it, they're fantastic. But if not, just put it in a pan. Now, what we usually serve this with, and I forgot to prep it, is broccoli. Again, a head of broccoli, because apart from anything else, the colour gives a bit of a lift because it's very sort of brown-looking dish, as many tagines are. So I'll quickly prep this. We've probably got a little bit of time because that needs 15 minutes, so we might just edit here. And come back to you in a couple of minutes when that's ready and we've got some broccoli done. Okay, see you in a minute. Okay, so we caught up with ourselves and cooked the broccoli, so which is a little bowl of it here. So we're now just going to pull the tagine out of the oven. It's probably been in about a quarter of an hour. See what it looks like. Turn the oven off as well. Okay. So, always a good sign when you see it bubbling around the sides. Look at that. Like that. Close that window. I have no spoon. Spoon. Sorry about that. Let's put it in that one. So as you can see, it's nice and saucy. Look at that. The sweet potatoes are really soft. You've got the chickpeas will have taken on a load of flavour. You've got the sauce, which is obviously seasoned with Ras El Hanout, and then the prunes. that prune there. They're just really, really soft, and so are the apricots. And then you've also got the almonds in there, which are cooked through, and you've got the flaked almonds on top, along with again, a little bit of soft brown sugar and some cumin. So altogether, there's all sorts of different flavours going on there, but it's really rich. And as we said before, equally good with the bit of meat as well. Throw a bit of broccoli on it as part of your 5 a day. And there we have our sweet potato tagine. So hope you've enjoyed watching that one. Give it a go. It's a little bit different, but it's well worth the effort. And as I say, you could just as easily stick some meat in there instead of the sweet potatoes. If you want the recipe, just drop us some sort of message, ESP or whatever means, and we'll do our best to come up with some quantities and method for you to, if you want to try this at home for real. Thanks for watching. We'll possibly do some more of these if you like them and you want us to persevere. We've nothing else to do. I guess you guys haven't much else to do either. So there we have it. Thanks to Sophie for I think heroically following me on her little editing app. Hopefully she's got my hands when it should be my hands and my head when it should be my head, and not too much at the top of my head. And that's it really. Hope to see you again. Cheers.